Good morning, colleagues. I see a few familiar faces than the previous couple of days. You know how it works. Your sound is muted, and we will start the meeting then at 9 a.m. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Very welcome to today's session. Alta, I just want to do a quick sound check with you. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Renette. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
fantastic.
And see you. Good morning.
Okay, morning. Um, Everybody, we're quite a big team this morning, and I see the lobby is still quite active. So I'm just going to wait another minute or two to give people the chance to still join us. So yeah, if you can just be patient, have a cup of coffee, and then we can start in about a minute or two. Thank you. Good morning once again, everybody. I'm very happy to see such a big group. I'm happy about your excitement about the expenses module. And yeah, greetings from a very wet Stellenbosch. And well done for joining us a day before the long weekend. Once again, it is appreciated. My name is Renette Eys. I work at Financial Services. For those of you who don't know me, the colleagues assisting me today will be Naweed Mulaji, who will help us with the walkthrough, and then Pierre Gerber as well, who will assist with questions. So thanks very much, Naweed and Pierre, for your assistance as well. Okay, so the aim of today is to give everybody an overview of the expenses module. And we really want to show you what it looks like. You are welcome to post a question in the chats, and we will try to get to all of the questions. But just please bear with us. As I said, we are quite a big group, but we will try to answer all the questions in the chat. But please remember, from next week for the next 2 to 3 weeks, there are face-to-face sessions. So please register for that, because that will be the more practical session where you will have a chance to actually create an expense item. I think the last day for registration is today. So please just make sure that you do register if you want to. All right. Yeah, it has been a really long journey with OCF, Oracle Cloud Financials, or OFC, Oracle Financials Cloud, whichever one you prefer. And as I said, I'm very excited to show you the end product. I hope that most of you have attended Anemi's session on Tuesday, where she explained some of the fundamentals, because some of those concepts might help you. But her slides are also available as far as I know, so you can always refer back to that. All right. I am just going to share my screen. I just want to confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we
Thank
can
you,
see
Arthur.
now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just to give you a bit of background, what are we actually talking about today? So today is the expenses module, and it is the module that we currently call the sundry check requisitions, die diverse check requisities, the FBT 199P. All right, so that is the module that we are covering. Yesterday, Lizzie covered the procurement, and today it is the staff reimbursements. So Oracle is an off-the-shelf package, which was obviously not initially written for an institution like the university with thousands of cost centers. So there are a lot of standardized processes and standardized controls, and we had limited customization that we could do. For a corporate entity, this module is used mainly for traveling and entertainment reimbursements, because the normal purchase of goods and services should go through the vendor system. Obviously, that is always the first prize, to take something through the vendor system. This module is literally for staff reimbursements, as I said, mainly for traveling and entertainment. All right, so just keep that in mind. So this module works on the principle that there are expense types. So we had to divide all our claims into specific expense types. So I've listed the expense types for you. There are 9 expense types, but one expense type can have more than one template. So the idea is that every expense type has a template linked to it, but there could be more than one template for a type. All right. So you can read through them on your own time. We also make the slides available. I'm very excited about the fact that we have these templates, and it is a definite win for us with the fact that these templates can actually link to the university policies, which is very nice, where it currently cannot. So it can automatically test for policies immediately, and the templates, such as the per diem template, can actually pull in Forex rates from the Forex table. So it's less work also on your side. We can also immediately test for a policy violation. It will not be a hard stop, but there will be an indicator that there is a policy violation.
Renette,
Yeah.
Renette, my apologies to interrupt.
No.
Apparently, some of our colleagues cannot see. So
Okay.
can we just, you don't have to reshare, let we just see if we can get them quickly online, or Alta, what was that? They need to view, focus on content. There we go.
That's
Can you just
correct,
take us
yes.
through that procedure, please?
Okay, so you go to the view block and change your view to focus on content. If all fails, leave the room and come back. That normally also resolves the problem.
Thank you. I think many of our colleagues did try that. So colleagues, quickly see if you can change your view and give us a thumbs up if if it worked.
Lizzie, will you just let me know when I can
Yes,
continue? Okay,
I will.
thank you.
Sorry about this,
No,
Renee,
no,
but
no problem.
otherwise it's very noisy.
Yeah.
Okay, there are quite a few thumbs ups. So yeah, I think let's give it a. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Renette, yeah,
Yes.
perhaps just so sorry to do this, but if you can perhaps just start at the first point then again.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good.
Okay, I will do so. Sorry for the people who have to listen to this twice. Yeah, so as I said, this module of today is the sundry requisitions, die diverse check requisities, and it's mainly used for staff reimbursements. Lizzie did the procurement session yesterday, and today it is staff reimbursements. As I said previously, Oracle is an off-the-shelf package with standardized processes and standardized controls. There's not a lot of customization that can be done. It was not necessarily written for a university setup with thousands of cost centers. So this module, which is normally used, I would imagine, for a company where all goods and services goes through procurement, and this is only used for traveling and entertainment for staff. So I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. The first prize is always still to go through procurement. We really want you guys to rather take that route, but if it's not possible and if you're traveling, then we use this module for reimbursements. So you now shopped the world yesterday, and now we are traveling the world. All right. So the expenses module works on expenses categories on that basic principle, and every category must have a template. So one category can have more than one template. For example, accommodation, there's local and international, but in the end, we have 9 broad expense categories. A nice win for us is that the template can be linked to financial policies. So when you fill in the template, it already checks for policy violations and it will flag the violation. And you might need to give a motivation as well. It's not a hard stop, but it is nice to see that there is a flag that the expense auditor will know to have an extra look at it. And some of the templates, for example, the per diem, will pull in the Forex already for you. So it's a bit less work from your side. So we are very excited about that. Another big win is that you can attach all of your documentation to the expense claim. So hopefully gone are the days where you call financial services and ask, why have you not been paid yet? And we say, but we haven't received anything. And then it got lost somewhere. Those days are gone. Everything is attached to OCF, which makes it a lot easier. Also very nice, the expense category is already linked to a GL account number. So if you choose the correct template, automatically post to the correct GL. So you don't have to worry about that. All right. So as I said, this package was not necessarily written for a university. And something that is very important to us is to make sure that the cost center has got enough funds. We don't want the expense to go through to payments and then there's not enough funds and then it must be cancelled. So we had to have something written to ensure that the funds are reserved for us. So we call that a spent authorization. You will hear that word quite a lot. So initially, before you incur the expense, you create a spent authorization, and the aim of that is to reserve the funds and also to get pre-approval for the expense, which is also nice because a lot of times people incur expenses and it might not be 100% per the policy, but then they have already incurred the money or the expense. So now with the pre-approval, one can have a bit more control over that. All right. So you create your spent authorization, and now we will show you how to do everything. And then you incur your actual expense, and you create an expense report, and you attach the spent authorization. You will see that we still will give advances. Obviously, we want to limit it as far as possible because it is always a risk, but there is an option for it to obtain an advance. If you bring back those slips and there is an open advance, Oracle will automatically apply the expense to the advance and the journal will be posted. So the accountant at Financial Services does not need to post a journal anymore, which I also think is a nice win. All right, there is workflow involved, which I will get to after this slide. So just bear with me. But when the expense report has been approved by the applicable staff, it routes to an expense auditor pool for approval. So the expense auditors are the financial services accountants. So just bear that in mind. Once it has been approved, a notification is sent to the requester. An approved expense report will be released once a day to what we call the payables module for payment. So that will happen once a day, the same as now. When it is actually paid, the requester will receive a notification. So that is also very nice. You don't have to phone us anymore to ask us what is the status of your payment. You will actually be able to see on your dashboard what the status is. And we will also show you that. Just keep in mind, for those who are wondering, the posting to the general ledger will happen when the payment is made, not when the expense is approved. For those of you who think or will be looking for the expense in the GL, you need to wait until it is actually paid. And then something that we are very excited about, which is completely new, is the mobile app. Now, we will also demonstrate that for you. So when you are traveling overseas or locally, and you are worried that you are going to lose a slip or forget to claim something, you can actually take a photo and upload it on the mobile app, which then talks to the expenses module. So I think that is very nice for people who are worried that slips can get lost. It also has a functionality to link with Google Maps, for example, to calculate your mileage, which is also very nice. All right. Then, as I mentioned, there is workflow involved in the expenses module. So the workflow between the different sort of actions, I would like to just highlight. There is a difference between the workflow of the spent authorization and then the actual expense report due to specific customization that we had to do. All right. So the initial spent authorization will need to be approved by the line manager. I'm sure you are all familiar with workflow. You work on Oracle HR. You know what the approval of the leave request look like. So this is very similar to that. And when you actually submit your expense report, that approval goes to the cost center owner, which is the same as now. This is also a win because the approval of your sundry check requisition, you will remember it is a PDF that you literally have to print out and take to the cost center owner to sign, or you mail it to the person. So the approval was very much sort of outside the system. So this is a lot better. Everything is on the system. It is automatic workflow, and it makes it a lot easier and I think quicker. And there obviously is a division of duties. For example, when you submit an expense report and you are the cost center owner, obviously you cannot approve your own report, so that will route to your line manager. Okay. And then an advance approval will also go to the line manager, not the cost center owner, but it will be the line manager. And then we have also built in additional approvals for airfare and car hire, which will route to procurement for approval, the same as now, but once again, it is a lot easier. We don't have to mail procurement to ask for their approval, and you don't have to either. And mileage will route to vehicle pool for approval. All right. So you might have heard about the projects and grants module that Annemie is very excited about. If you incur an expense on the project, that expense will route to the project manager. So just take note of that as well. And then the expenses module also has the functionality to delegate, to capture an expense claim on behalf of somebody. So Nawid will demonstrate that as well, as I said. All right, so that is all of the theory and the broad fundamentals from my side. I would now like to hand over to Nawid to show you what the module actually looks like. So thank you, Nawid. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Could I just get a thumbs up to make sure everyone can hear me, or if I am audible? There we go. Okay.
I can hear
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you the landing page, and from there we'll go on to, well, we'll explore the module, and I'll go through the various steps with you. Please remember that it'll be easier when we do the practical session. So some concepts are still foreign, and with practice and in the practical sessions, they'll become more clear. Yeah. Okay. So I just need to share, and we are sharing the screen. Okay. So within OCF, within SUNFin, you'll of course have your landing page, which was explained in depth in the last few pages, in the last few sessions, sorry. Initially, expenses will not appear on your landing page. There's a nice little guide, an OGL, that will explain how to get there, but initially everybody will access it via the navigator. The navigator here being under me, it's not a separate module, it's linked to your role as an employee, and all employees should be able to do this. So even your line managers and your HODs and your academics and your researchers, even all the way up to the rector, will be able to claim their own, will be able to submit their own expense claims. Of course, we know that's not practical for everyone to do it. So there is functionality that gives staff members to claim on behalf of other staff members. I'll demonstrate that as well. Okay. We'll start by going to expenses. And initially, before you submit any other expense claim, you'll land up on this page. So there's actually a nice little video over here that will guide you through the expenses module as well. OGL will be activated the first time as well. So we've got various tools that will help you go through. But yeah, so over here, you'll see we've got various categories. We've got create an expense report. We've got create a cash advance, as well as request to spend authorization. And then there's also the managed delegates. The managed bank accounts is not going to be in this module. This is our test environment. This will be removed. All your bank accounts will be linked to your HR profile, and HR needs to update and manage those. So yes, we'll start with the landing pages. I just want to move over to mine, if you don't mind. So we're going to the expenses module. And as you can see, if you have expenses that have been created already, you'll actually be directed directly to the expenses module and not that initial landing page. So after your first expense, that initial landing page will disappear and you'll land up over here. So how it looks, it's a bit different to the other modules that you have seen for the last few days. This is a self-contained module. There's not that many, the taskbar is not there, as you can see. We work from the cog, which is our settings button. Or our taskbar is this little wheel over here. We've got these 4 buttons here on the side, and I will explain these buttons to you because these are the various subsections of the module. So the first one is the expenses. This is where your expense report and your expense items will be created. So this is after your trip has taken place and once you actually have expense items. You will create the expense report. I'll explain that to you, and that will be submitted along with your supporting documentation, and it will be routed via workflow. As you can see here, all of your expense reports are here. It will give you the various statuses. So none of these have been submitted. We have just been testing quite a few items. So just want to check, see all. It will give you the statuses. It will say if it's saved, withdrawn. It will give you the status that says if it's been paid, if it's gone to the expense auditor, if it's gone for approval, etc. So every staff member will be able to check on their own expenses. They won't need to go into a separate module or separate program to go look for it. The dashboard gives them the status of all of the expenses that's applicable to them. The next one is any approvals. So as a line manager, there might be approvals waiting for them. They can go and approve it over here. Approvals also appear over here in the notifications bar as well as on the task list. I'll show that at a later stage. The next icon is our advances. All your active cash advances will be here. As you can see, there's approvals. There's a status for it. It says if it's what the status is, if it's approved or if it's been paid or whatever. You can also search for your advances, and I'll show you that soon. That's overdue advances. The next item is then your spend authorizations. So this is a new concept, and this is what Renette has explained. For all of our expenses, we first need a spend authorization that reserves and commits the funds before we can request an expense report. All expense reports will need a spend authorization before you can submit the expense report. The idea with the expense report is it approves a certain amount of funds for a certain category before the staff member goes on the trip or before the staff member incurs the costs, and it guarantees that there is, number one, approval from the line manager, and number two, that there are funds. So it doesn't get to the point where they bring the slips back and they want to capture the expense claim and then there's no funds, or there's an issue between whether they should have incurred the cost or not. Okay. So yes, I think the most important thing, one of the most important things is how are you going to, or a lot of staff members have brought it up, that there's a lot of researchers, academics, line managers, HODs, and other staff that generally won't want to capture these things on their behalf. OCF, the expenses module, has a delegation function built into this specific module. So you can capture and you can delegate to somebody else to capture on your behalf, or you can capture on somebody else's behalf. You will notice over here, once you log into your module, you won't have this little button here that says owner, but because I have delegated rights, I can capture on behalf of the following 3 people, or for myself, Renette, and Shanae. Okay, that means I can do both the spend authorization, cash advances, and expense reports for all 3 persons. I can't approve. I can't approve. I can't approve anything on behalf of somebody that's delegated. So in this case, if Renette needs to approve items, only she'll be able to approve it. I, as a delegated person, cannot approve that. The line manager, that's a separate approval process. But when it comes to capturing, I can capture on behalf of. And how we will do that, it's a very simple process. The staff member will need to have gone into OCF at least once to at least delegate the capturing of reimbursements to you or to somebody in the department. It's the go to task item over there. There's
Sorry, now wait, can I?
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting
No,
you
it's fine.
so rudely.
No, it's fine.
Would you mind just quickly zooming in a little bit on your
Okay,
screen?
that's fine. Yes.
And maybe so I know there's a lot of information on this screen, and it's
Yep.
a busy screen with a lot of new
Yes,
info. So
yes.
maybe if you so I know people will have to scroll a little bit now. So maybe if
That's
you
fine.
just I think it's a lot of it's overwhelming for the people on the other side. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you, Anami. No problem. Okay, so I know it looks a bit. I want to see if there's a way. Just hold on. I just want to unshare. I want to see if there's a way that I can make my screen in general bigger.
Otherwise, maybe we're almost into the nitty-gritty details, so I don't want to derail you. Sorry. So yeah, colleagues, we appreciate it's a very busy
No,
screen with a lot of info.
That's fine,
The
Anami.
classroom sessions will probably. We are trying not to do slides. We're trying to do it live, that you get a look and feel of the system.
I think this is better. Just going back to share. Okay. This looks a bit better.
Yes, a lot better.
Yes,
Thank you.
a lot better. No problem. Okay, so back over here, just to refresh, you've got your 4 icons here on the side: expense reports, approvals, advances, and then the spend authorization. The most important thing that I'm going to show you now is how delegations happen, so that you can capture, or you can have somebody else capture on your behalf. Okay, so the little go to task item, the cog, we'll go to manage delegates. The first screen that will pop up is who you have given delegation to. So yes, if your name appears over here and you go on to OCF for the first time, you will actually be able to capture an expense on my behalf. So we were testing a whole lot of things. So if your name's here, don't worry. You're going to get deactivated now. So as you can see, this Janine Myberg was given. I delegated it to Janine on the 6th of the 9th of the 6th, sorry, 2023. It's currently active. So we've got, the nice thing is you can even see inactive ones. You can see people that used to delegate, that you gave delegation to in the past. You can see who has delegation at the moment. It will also tell you there's an audit trail in terms of when the person had delegation. So Pierre had delegation between these dates, and he also has delegation now. So it's nice in the sense that you can actually see when somebody can do something on your profile. It's easy to take it off. So I don't want Janine to do it anymore. So I'll just click on the inactive button, and it gives you a little warning, and it tells you everything. And if you are happy with that, you can continue. Okay. It's busy. So now if I refresh the screen, it will disappear after today. So she still has access at the system is busy updating in the background. The second box is for people that I can delegate on, or that I can capture on behalf of, that I have received delegation from. So as you can see, 2 people, this is my dates. All I can do is just check active and inactive. There's no actual functionality over there on the screen. If I want to add somebody, anybody from that's on the worker table can be added. So I want to add my colleague at Health Sciences, Deborah Swart. Let me just do the long way. Search for the email. Ooh, Deborah not. Okay, I'm just going to look for Anami. Anami should be there we go. And Anami is going to get delegation to do it from today. And once I press save, we'll save that over there. And Anami will now be able to delegate on my behalf. Okay. So a question that would that came up: if I capture an expense on behalf of someone else, does that person get notified? Yes. Part of the workflow is if I capture an expense report on behalf of Renette, and before it even goes for approval to Renette's line manager, it will first go to Renette, and she will need to approve it and say, yes, I'm aware and I'm happy with this expense being incurred or claimed on my behalf, or no, I don't want this expense to be claimed on my behalf. So nowhere in the process is the person who's claiming back or that's getting the reimbursement unaware of it. They will need to approve it themselves before it goes anywhere further. And that's both for the spend authorization, it's actually for all three: spend authorization, advance, as well as expense report. So nowhere in the chain will they be unaware that they need to get or they'll be receiving funds. Okay, so as you can see, functionality, if I go to Renette, I'll be able to view it as Renette. So these are all the items on Renette. Renette has an outstanding advance. She's got a few spend authorizations outstanding or unapplied or active, and she's got one report that's not been submitted. Okay, I'm going to move back to me. Renette, I just want to ask, is there anything that I need to reiterate that I've gone through again based on the questions that have come up in the chat? I know I might have gone a bit fast for some things.
No, thank you. Not at this stage.
Okay.
I think we're okay. So you can continue.
Okay,
Thanks.
Okay, so that was how to delegate, and that means you can create on behalf of somebody else or somebody else can create on behalf of you. I just need to stress, this is only for the expenses module. This has nothing to do with procurement or any other workflows in any other modules or any other systems. Okay, also under the task items, you can view your cumulative mileage. So that's a nice thing. And you can do advanced searches and you can take a little tour of the product. Okay, so the first step in the expenses module is to create a spend authorization. Before anyone goes on a trip, before anyone incurs any costs, before they actually go out and buy anything. All your active spend authorizations will always appear over here. A spend authorization is linked to a specific template, which I'll show you now, or templates. You can have multiple templates under it. And the other thing is you can apply a spend authorization to multiple expense reports. I'll explain that later. Okay. First thing is request an authorization. You will always type a purpose in. This is so that for yourself as well as your line manager to understand what the spend authorization is. So this is OCF demo. Okay. For all of the expenses, there's always a location required. When we get to the expense reports, you'll understand why the location is actually very important. Okay, so we are still in South Africa. And the nice thing is this is very granular. So I could say I'm in Stellenbosch, or I can just use a country. Okay, start date for this. This is information for the line manager to know how long this expense report is going to be used for. This is not an end date that the expense report or the spend authorization, sorry, apologies, that the spend authorization will expire. This is purely for information purposes for them. So if you're going to go buy something at Walton's today, well, not you shouldn't, you should be using procurement, but if you need to run to the Nielsen, go buy a pen quickly, this is when it will be used for. Okay, you can attach overall documents over here as well as on the line items. So we'll go to the create button and you'll notice you will only have access to US1's expense report template if you are Stellenbosch University. If you are STIAS, you'll be on their business unit. If you're on Marty's Gym, there's a separate business unit for that. Okay. Expense type, these are the templates that Renette mentioned. Okay. These are, I just want to show you. These templates that Renette mentioned, these are all over here except for advances. It's in a separate module. Okay. So if you go, you will select it. Again, your spend authorization is linked to a cost, sorry, not a cost center, to an account. And you cannot, so you need to choose the same template here as the template for your expense report. So if your spend authorization is for accommodation local and you want to use that spend authorization for an international accommodation, you will get an error. The system will not allow you to go any further. It will tell you the spend authorization is a different type to your expense report. Okay, so we are going to put in accommodation local and we are going to use 500 Rand. This was just, what is this? OCF demo. And I'm going to put in 2 days. Please note the 2 days is just purely for information purposes in the spend authorization. The number of days has a different role in the expense report. Okay, so here I would attach items just for this little line item if need be. And over here, we have the cost center. You will leave everything as is and only change the cost center. Okay, you can go and search for it. You can type it in and it'll populate it. But this is where you will go and you will not change the account type. You will not change the entities. That's defaulted to the correct ones. You will submit it. The only other item that you might want to change or you might need to change is your funds type. But again, the system will also tell you that you would need to do that. So it's not so you won't need, let me put it this way. You don't need to know which fund type each cost center is. OCF will pop an error message out telling you that this is an RC funds type. It's a non-main budget cost center. So you will need to go and change the fund type to RC. Okay. And then if we do that, it will go through, but we're using a budget cost center for today. That was just to show you the error that comes up. And I know I'm going through this part very fast, changing it back. Renette and Anami and Lizzie, you must tell me if I need to stop or slow down or show something else over there. Okay.
Now, sorry, can I
Yes.
interrupt you just very
Yes.
quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to read the questions, but Andres did have a question just about the spent authorizations
Yes.
that you can maybe help with. How does it work with the subsistence allowance? How do you accommodate the first day domestic fee and then international allowance per country? And then he also had a question just on the spent authorization, if it's more than one country that's involved.
Yes. Okay. So your spend authorization doesn't test per country. Your spend authorization, you can give a global amount. So if your subsistence allowance estimated is 50,000 Rand across 4 countries, including South Africa, you would just capture one spend authorization for that 50,000 Rand. On the expense report, you would split the subsistence allowance per line, but you would attach the same spend authorization. So 500 Rand would be used for South Africa of that 50,000, 20,000 for the UK, and the balance would then be used for Greece, as an example. But I will, yeah, if there's time, I'll give an example of that.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, Naweed. I'm going to come in here
Yeah.
with my budget hat on, maybe just to put
Yes.
it a different spin on it. So colleagues, as Naweed mentioned right in the beginning of when he talked about the 4 items we can do in expenses, he said that this is a new thing for us to hold funds, the mechanism to hold funds. So let's take another angle. This is the one that you do way up front. So one good example we had the other day from engineering, for instance, is, remember, this is for all types of accommodation, entertainment, whatever. So say you are aware of a trip that you want to do in June. This is just almost to earmark a big amount of money for that specific trip. Under this will live the detail as we know it now, the per diem claim or the transport claim or the slippies for the food. This is just, think of it as a placeholder, almost just to earmark funds for a trip later on. Or for instance, if you know, let's say it's Mani knows during the year he has to have a couple of meetings during lunch and he has to provide snacks or whatever, LZ will probably create like a placeholder to say, if he buys snacks or takes staff out for lunch or whatever. It's just a placeholder there, so the granularity will live in the actual expense claim, which is the thing we have currently. I don't know if it helps or confuses you more, but this is to make our lives as budget people a bit easier, just to earmark the funds up front. Jammer, nou weet ek krap in jou slime.
No, it's fine, Anami. That's the type of information we need. So yes, you don't need to create it as a one-to-one. You can use a spend authorization for an entire month or an entire 6 months, and you can claim expense reports or submit expense reports against that spend authorization throughout the time. Okay, save and close, or I can save and create another. Let's do that. Subsistence allowance, and another thing you can have a look at, and you can see that you can actually do spend authorizations in foreign currencies as well. So if you know you're going to pay for accommodation in USD, and you want to do the spend authorization in that, you can do that. It tests against our foreign exchange tables that we pull in daily. Okay, so it will convert it to a rand amount on the GL, but it will save it as a foreign currency in the spend authorization in the expenses module. Okay, so let's do 3,000 rand. Okay, so this is OCF demo per diem. And I'm doing the shortcut way of typing in the cost center over here, but the select account combination is always there, and you can use it in that way. Okay. So now I've got a spend authorization for 3,500 for 2 different templates, the same cost center, but you can also have multiple cost centers. So you could have subsistence allowance spread across 5905, 5923, your balance cost center, any other cost center. Okay. Then once I'm happy with this, I will click submit. Okay. The 3,500 will appear over here. I'm going to give it a few seconds because I wanted to do the test for funds. Okay, once I go in, there we go. You'll see it will give you the details. It will give you the information. The status will be, it will give you the status, and it will also give you the funds status. And just so that you can see, it will give you the information saying the funds have passed. So this is a lot of information over here. You don't need to worry about that. But what you can see over here is it will give you for each line item whether what has passed, and if something has failed, something has failed. Okay, so you don't need to go and figure out which cost center didn't have money. it actually tells you which cost center doesn't have money. And a nice thing is it will also give you a workflow item if it was rejected, saying something has been rejected. Okay. Now, as my line manager, I will show you what my line manager receives. Okay, I'm just signing in as Renette. So this is Renette's work landing page. My notifications is over here. There you'll see my notification or my approval has come in, 3,500. This also comes through as an email workflow approval. So your line manager doesn't need to sign on. They will get an email with this information in it. We want the line managers not to just approve or reject, that they actually need to go into the item. And this is what they will receive via email as well. There will be, it will give them the information. This is the authorization. This is the reason or the purpose of it that I put in over there. This is the location, the dates. It will also give them the information that I typed in on the individual lines. So I just said this was OCF demo and this was the per diem. It gives them the cost centers. They need to approve or reject, and there is an option for them to request more information as well. Okay. Again, this comes in via an email, and I will show you after when we do the app later. I'll show you an example of how the email looks as well. Okay, and if I'm happy with this, I will approve it, or the line manager will approve it. And then I will get a notification that has been approved. Okay, so throughout the process, the workflows that constantly inform you or the staff member involved of what is happening. Okay, done. And just so that you can see, the status has now changed. There we go. Status is approval complete. So now I can actually go and use the funds. And if you looked at your budget, you would see that this budget, this 3,500 has now been committed under this account number, 1153. Okay, done. Now I go on the trip, or I start paying for the trip, and I now need to claim the expenses. So now I would go to create report. My purpose would be whatever my purpose is. Okay, I can attach overarching documents for the entire thing. So I'm going for a trip. I want to attach the program over here because the program has got to do with my accommodation as well as my per diem, but not necessarily just, it's not one item only. Okay, then I can create items, select the date, of course. So today I am going to do let's do this. Accommodation local. I'm going to go through each of the templates just to show you the functionality within it. But yes, once you've selected a template, different fields will start opening for it because each template has different requirements, and some of them will ask you to enter an amount. Some of them will calculate it based on certain parameters. So when it comes to airfare international, accommodation international and accommodation local, you would need to actually submit the amount. But the nice thing with OCF is, and what we've built in the policies, and there's also calculators here. So you would say my total for my accommodation overseas was 10,000 Rand. And I only spent one night, so my daily amount is 10,000 Rand. We've built the ECA tariffs into it. So by saying 10,000 Rand for one night, the system will tell me this item violates the daily rate. But does not prevent me from submitting this expense report. What happens is there's a justification tab that opens up that you would need to say this has been approved by the dean, see attached mail, and you would attach the mail over here. Okay. If I change this to 3, Oh, yeah. Very important. As I mentioned, the expense location plays a role. So South Africa had 2,100, but the UK has a different tariff. So now, because it's 10,000 Rand over 3 days, I am okay that policy violation disappeared, the justification tab disappeared, and I am free to go and submit this without a policy violation. But if I moved it to 1, the policy violation will come back because 10,000 Rand per evening in the UK is too much. Okay. Description, merchant name would be the hotel that you stayed out. There's an optional item to submit checkout date. This is where you would submit attach your spend authorization. I'll show you that when we submit this. Again, your cost center needs to be submitted. Even though it's linked to this to the spend authorization, you still need to attach or complete the cost center. This item over here is projects and grants. You will not have that. Anami will go through P&G at the later stage. So this you can ignore. And when we do the practical sessions, this will not appear. Your system will, or your screen will stop at account. Okay. Accommodation local would be the same. Airfare international would give you other options again. This would ask you for a description, merchant name, flight type, flight class, ticket number, departure and arrival city, the agency you used, passenger name. So again, this is for when a staff member goes and buys their own flight ticket instead of going through our procurement system. Policy violation over here comes in when you select any other class except economy class. Let's go do this. I want to save this. And show errors. Okay, yeah, it will give you an error over there. If a local, flight type, domestic, and then if I choose business class, there we go. The expense item violates the flight class ticket. So there you would need to submit a justification that it has been approved by finances, and you would have to attach it over there. Airfare local, airfare international, as well as hire will have an additional workflow approval. So in the past, we would always send car hire claims as well as flight claims to procurement for the approval before we will finalize it. Within OCF, we've built in workflows that do it for us. So once you've submitted your expense report for either flight, airfare, international or local, or car hire, part of the workflow will not just be cost center owner approval, but also procurement approval. So it'll go to the procurement approval group, and they will need to approve it, request more information, or reject it. So no, you don't need to get, after everything has been signed, submitted to us, and we then send it to Rian and Anita, it goes via it automatically. Okay. Car hire, you type in the information. There's nothing strange over here. The nice thing is when it comes to entertainment, so entertainment, you needed to submit the entertainment form. Now you don't need to do that as a separate document anymore. You will see we have let me just cancel and refresh. And move this one. Yes. Okay. So when it comes to entertainment, you'll see we have built in, or OCF has the functionality built in, where you can add all the employees' names and all of the visitors' details to the expense report. And you'll be able to submit and indicate how much each person ate for, or what the entertainment value was, because we test against the actual per person amount, as you know. And we have 3 different categories for entertainment: official visitor, just staff, SU staff. So this is when you would go out for the team building, or you go out for the strategic planning, and then also for year-end functions, because over there we've got different limits as our policy allows, and you can also You can also have family and couples over there. Okay. We've got our meals amount. So when you travel internationally, not internationally, locally, you would go to Joburg for a conference and you would have a coffee on the airport, or you'd have supper in the evening. You can claim that back. We have mileage, and this is one of the nicer ones. Here you don't need to actually send anything to the vehicle fleet or even have that sheet with you anymore that says this is how much the kilometers are for a certain car that you can claim, etc. You just complete the details that you would normally look for on the sheet. So choose your engine size, choose your vehicle. You will type it in. You would attach your start location as a required field, and your destination as a required field, and your kilometers. And then you've got this button over here on top that says calculate. And it'll actually use the tariffs that we have in the background. And based on this combination of vehicle category and vehicle type, as well as the date, because we have tariffs from certain dates. So if it was, as you know, historic tariffs, that if the tariff changed on 1 April and you took a trip in March, it would take the the pre-change tariff. After April, it will start taking the new tariff. So the system will do everything for you. It will calculate it. You don't need to type in an amount. Okay, which I think is very nice. We don't need, and this will automatically route as part of the workflow to the vehicle fleet, and they will need to approve and make sure all of this information is correct. What they would check is they would normally check. They would check the kilometers. They would check the vehicle details. We've got a category called miscellaneous. So as Renette mentioned, this is mainly for staff travel, accommodation, and entertainment. But we are aware that sometimes staff would need to go and buy things, and they would need to get reimbursed for that. So we've got a miscellaneous category that you would then complete it. You can claim back for your smaller items that you have to buy. Okay. Before we continue to subsistence allowance, I just want to open a new page. Okay, so for subsistence allowance, we have the tariffs are built into the system as with our vehicle fleet. So you don't need to go and figure out what the exchange rate is or what the allowance is per country. It's there, it's populated, so you need to just have the information. So on that travel plan that we usually had in the past, that Excel sheet where you would have to go each line, you would say South Africa depart, or you go to the UK for the first trip, Spain for the second trip, and then back to South Africa. Each one of those lines would now be a line, or would now be an expense item line. So I'm leaving today on the 15th, and I'm leaving South Africa. And this is depart SA for conference, right? I have the little calculate button, and it will calculate there. And then I would create another. And then I would say, I'm now in the UK from the 16th. And we'll start just with the 16th, just so that I can show you that it actually does bring everything into account. UK. Calculate. That is my £102 converted to Rand at today's rate. And of course, I won't just be going for a day. I'll be going for a few days. I press calculate. That is my Rand amount of the UK value. And now I can say save and close. And there I have it. And it gives you the Great British Pound value all the way up until the payment. and then, but in your ledger, the actual rand amount will appear. Okay. I want to clear that because that was just to show you how that works. So just to make sure, just to go through an entire process, I'm going to submit my accommodation. And as you can see, if it's in a foreign currency, it brings up the conversion rate, but we're using rand, so we're fine, our conversion rate disappears. So I've spent 300 rand at this place that I sleep at, and this was the OCF test. Of course, we're always submitting information. The spend authorization that we did at the beginning needs to be attached. If I don't do that, I will show you what happens. OCF will tell me authorization is required. There's a hard stop. The red cross means you won't be able to submit. If I click submit, it'll tell me it can't because there's errors. The yellow triangle will still let you submit. Okay, so let's go look for this authorization. As you can see, I have a lot of authorizations. This was OCF test. Almost there. Okay, here we go. Accommodation local. Again, it's the same authorization. You'll see the same authorization number, but there's two categories. Accommodation local. Sorry for that. Accommodation local, as well as subsistence allowance. If there was more lines, all those lines would appear over there. There's a yellow triangle. It automatically tells you there's a problem with this. If I select this one, because I have conflicting accounting segments, but I'll show you why that rocks up. Okay. The reason why that's a problem is my cost center is 5903, but the accommodation cost center is 5905. So the system will tell you we can't use this one unless I go and fix it. So as soon as I fix it and I save it again, the error will disappear. Okay, 500 rand is what I can use. If I put in 1,300 rand, it would give an error as well and say there's more. I'm claiming more than what I have reserved. Okay, save and close. There we go. There's my 300 rand. There's no issues and no errors. I may submit this. If I wanted to, and I'll show this very briefly because I don't want to overwhelm everyone, but if I wanted to, I could go apply additional spend authorizations over here. So it is possible that after you've incurred a cost, say you've gone overseas, you've paid for your accommodation, because due to the exchange rate, the accommodation is 300 rand more than what the spend authorization was for. You can't take it out of that specific cost center, but you can take it out of a different cost center. You can then go and submit or append that spend authorization to this expense report as an additional amount. You can attach multiple spend authorizations to one expense report or one expense item. OCF does allow for that. Okay. Just for, yeah, submitting this. Okay. Now what happens is on my dashboard, it says expense report has been submitted for approval. I will be able to see this and Okay. I'm going to zoom out a bit just so that I can go all the way to the side. Not submitted. I have too many items open. Let me just zoom in again so that you can see. There we go. There's my expense item, pending manager approval, 300 Rand. That's the authorization that has been attached and all other information. So if it was paid, our payment date would be there. The amount that was paid would also be there. Because as you know, it can be reduced based on actual items. So there you can see. Just so that I know I'm jumping the gun a bit, but here's an expense item that has been paid. That was the report total. That is what I was actually paid, and that was the date that I was paid on. So staff member can always go and check this information. Okay. So within
No, wait, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I think we should just have a 5 to 10 minute break sometime. So yeah, so you decide when it will be a good time, just for a quick leg stretch. But yeah, I
Yes.
don't want to interrupt you. So whenever
No,
you
I know.
think it's the best time.
No, it's fine. I just want to show the manager approval, and then we can do a break because I want to set up for the app, and then we can go through some more info, some other detail. Okay, so just within the expenses module, within expense reports, you're always you can always go and check who needs to approve what. Okay, so over here, the cost center owner, in this case Rian Basson, needs to still approve. There's no other approvals required, which is nice. So you can always go and see who is the hold up for an expense item. Okay, so just for the sake of us finishing this, I'm going to sign in as Rian. Okay, and as Rian Basson, as the cost center owner of 5905, I've received the expense report for approval. Again, this would come through as an email as well. Okay, there we go. The information that I gave, cost center, the description, category, the amount. I can go and view the expense report. It gives them that option. They can go in over there. They can view the attachments. It's all grayed out, but they can have a look. And then if they are happy, they can approve, submit. And then on my side, I will receive this notification. Still coming through. There we go. Pending expense auditor approval. It's gone to financial services and the expense auditor will go through it. So it's out of everybody's hand. Before we go break, just so that you can, yeah, okay. I think what we can do is we can take a 10-minute break if that's okay with you, Renee. So it's almost quarter past, so 25 past 10.
Yes, thank you. Agreed, Naweed. Thank you very much, everybody. See you then again in 10 minutes' time. Welcome back, colleagues. I hope you had enough time to quickly grab a coffee. Before Naweed continues, Lizzie just wants to say something quickly about the training. Thank you, Lizzie.
Net 'n bietjie, where am I? Let me just see if I am in the same meeting as you guys. Good morning, colleagues. Yes, I see there's a lot of questions in the chat around training, and yeah, obviously we're excited if you're excited to join us for training. Just in terms of how the training program works, so yeah, please breathe, relax. There will be more than enough sessions. So this week, you all registered for, well, what we call an online training session. It's not necessarily training per se, it's an introduction, it's a walkthrough. It should just show you what lies ahead. Obviously, if this is enough for you, we're happy that it is suffice or sufficient. And you can go back on the recording, you can use your OGL, you can go to the user guides. There are some users that think this is enough. Okay, happy with that. Colleagues, then after these sessions, we have classroom style sessions. Those are, and I don't want to say the interactive ones, but yeah, they're really interactive, where you can ask all your questions, you can work with us, etc., etc. So it's basically classroom style. So to book for those, in the same communication that we sent out last week, and I can quickly share it, just so that you see, so that there's no confusion. Oh, here it is. And believe me, I had Annemie to quickly send me one. I couldn't find mine. Okay, so in that same communication, so this is where we're at today. Busy with these, and you've all booked for these. And then we said, okay, if you need more, from 19th to the 7th of July, we offer classroom style, and we have multiple sessions available for you that you can choose from. So there you go. You have to go and link to that link to register for those sessions. And here's the schedule. All right, so you can only attend one, you can attend all of them. So in the course of the 3 weeks, from the 19th to the 7th, there will be, well, hopefully for us, enough sessions available. Okay, so colleagues, then we will determine after these sessions what more do we need. In the meantime, we will send new communication and updates with more dates or question and answer sessions that will take place in the library, etc., etc. The ones that went out now is to attend to the online introduction. This is one that you're attending today. And yes, if you want to attend a classroom-based one, please register for this. That registration links unfortunately expires this afternoon. We will update it with a new communication, sending a new link. But please, if you know now you want to attend one of these, please do. Remember, behind these, there are schedule bookings, classroom bookings, etc., etc. We need to understand what we're working with. In terms of group sessions, yes, obviously, Stefan and Salome already reached out to us. So we will go to Tygerberg, we will go to Bellville Park. We're happy to do that. So we are in the process of arranging that, and so we'll send out that communication. And we did send or have an opportunity for perhaps group sessions, however small or however big. We will put that in a communication as well. All right, I hope that is enough information to perhaps just let us breathe about training. Is that?
Thank you, Lizzie. We see a lot of thumbs up, and I think you addressed all the chats, all the concerns in the chats. Thanks for joining.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, colleagues, thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Naweed, back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Renette. Okay, so before I continue on the actual OCF again, I want to show everyone the app. And to do that, I need to start sharing. Okay, so I'm going to share my phone. Okay, so everybody can see my phone. Everyone can still hear me. So on your phone, you've got a little button that says Article Fusion Expenses. You'll download that from the App Store. We'll send you a link, and there'll be a whole process. There'll be a little manual or something about that. And over here, you'll sign in with your university username. I just need to do this. Okay, my password. Oh, there we go. Okay, it'll go through the normal sign up steps, and then we'll get to the actual app. I was just syncing it again. Okay, so the app is here to capture expenses on the move. Like Renette said, on the go, when somebody's on field work, when they're at a conference, when they're away from the office, and we all know when they entertain people, we all know people forget slips, people lose slips, anything can happen. So now we have the option to actually upload. You can use your camera button. There's the upload button. You can do a lot of things. Okay, there's even the tracker button over there. Ooh, this thing is jiggling around now. There we go, stop. Okay, so again, you can use, if you have a look, there's a quick entry option. All the templates that are available online are over here. So if I go to miscellaneous and I want to add something, I can add an amount, 100, press add, and now it'll start opening up the information for me. So this is miscellaneous, 100. Any attachments that I need to attach, where the location is, the merchant information, you'll see keys, and of course, very important, our cost center information. If we can submit, if we can input that, if we can't, it's also fine. You'll actually see what happens when we get to it. Description, port keys. Okay, number of days, 1. Done. Save, and once I'm happy with it, both of them, the ones that I did via the quick link and the one I did via the longer link, it'll ask me, do I want to upload these to OCF? If I'm happy with that, I'll actually do the upload option. And we're waiting for it. There we go. The first one's through, second one's through. Both of them have now been uploaded to OCF, and I'll go finalize it over there. But the other option is also, I can take a receipt, or I can take a picture of a receipt and start capturing that. Use photo. Okay. You can even scan it, attach it, and this is now meals. Today's date, and this was 50 Rand for the water, and this was the Water Corporation. And my details for this would be water bottles. Done, save, upload, upload. If I want to do that. Okay, back. Okay, so you've got a mileage claim. So you can actually do all of that information. You can put in the info. You can submit it again. Same as you can do on the system. You've got the tracker option. So you can start tracking yourself, and this thing will then save the actual kilometers. So when a staff member goes out and goes and they use their car for official purposes, and they don't want to measure the odometer at the beginning, well, not they don't, but they want to give the actual expenses or the actual claim or the actual trip, they can go start, it'll track it, they need to stop it, and they can submit it then. Okay, you've got a history button, sorry. You can check these were the 3 that I uploaded. Nothing was rejected or nothing failed to upload. Okay, submit. Any expense reports that I have submitted, which is none, and anything waiting for approvals actually also appears over there. So line managers could also approve via this, but only for expenses. Okay, and that is the app. Now I want to show you what happens after that. Once you've submitted items via the app, I'm going to kick myself off so that I can get back to my page. Okay, everybody can not see, just hold on. There we go. You should be able to see my OCF app now. And if I refresh this, let's just refresh. We're waiting for the refresh to happen. I just want to, okay, let me go land up at the landing page. Hold on. Okay. I just want to, let me go back into OCF. Okay, I'm just waiting for OCF for it to sync. Once it does sync, I will show you what I want to do. Yeah, I'll show you how it lands up over here and how you'll attach it to an expense report. But a bit more functionality. So the expenses module is very technical. It's going to be very overwhelming if we show you everything from the get-go. So the idea is this is an introductory session. You will then do the practical sessions and we'll take it from there. Because as I mentioned, you can attach multiple spend authorizations. You can have multiple lines on an expense report. You can have a spend authorization that's applied separately. We didn't even get to advances yet. So yes, there's a lot more information. And to show everything over now might be a bit overwhelming. So this is the basics. So just to show you that when an expense report is submitted, even if it's been gone through all the way to the expense auditor, you can still withdraw it and edit it. Okay, so you would select the expense report and you'd click the withdraw option. That will then open up all the fields on the expense report. All of these fields will then be editable and then you will resubmit it. If an expense report is rejected, all of these fields become active again and you can submit it. Okay. Other options that you also have over here is you can duplicate expense reports. So if you know somebody is going to go, if it's the same trip that you do every month to Belleville Park or to Tygerberg campus, you can actually go and select your previous expense report. You can click the options and you can actually duplicate. And then it'll complete all the information again. You will just update. So in the case of a recurring trip to one of our other campuses, you would then you just update the date, and if your car or your vehicle information has changed, you'll update that, and then you can just calculate again. So OCF has some very fun functionality. Okay, a question that came up as well was, what happens when a per diem amount, we want to pay out less than the actual amount, or the amount calculated. If the actual amount is less than the amount calculated because of a funder restriction or because of some other reason, funding or something like that. The expense auditor, when we get to the finalization of an expense, we can reduce the amount. So if the amount is less than what is calculated, it'll need to be indicated as such as part of the attachments or the comments. So you still then attach the travel plan that would say this is the actual amount we want to pay out, although the system calculated an additional amount. The expense auditors would then reduce it, and that would then go through to payables, and the amount that was requested to be paid out will then be paid out. Okay. Another very nice thing about expenses or the expense module is your cash advances. Your cash advances will automatically be applied once an expense report has been submitted. So a staff member can never get funding or can never be reimbursed their full amount if there's an expense report outstanding. The system will automatically apply that cash advance, and after that, any amount that is then or that can then be reimbursed will then be paid out to the staff member. So a staff member will never be able to have an outstanding advance and then claim back and get all that money back. It will first clear the advance or any advances that are outstanding if they have multiple advances. So just to show you very briefly how cash advance works. Cash advance is your second last option. All your active cash advances are here. What would happen is you would request a cash advance. You would input the amount. It's a very simple screen. So I want a cash advance for 200 Rand. My purpose is travel to Park campus. And my trip date is the 15th to the 16th. I'll attach any information I need for the advance over here, and I would submit that. This 200 Rand advance that I submitted now goes to my line manager. Okay, it does not go to the cost center owner because there is no cost center. One of the fundamentals of OCF is all of our balance sheet or our control accounts lays centrally and not per cost center. Okay, so all your advances will be approved via the line manager. And what needs to happen at the same time as that advance is applied for is you request a spend authorization so that the fund is reserved on the cost center, so that when the slips come back, your funds is already there. They can just submit the expense report. Okay, so in this case, Renette would have received my advance request. There's my advance request. Just waiting for the system to open up. Okay, there we go, 200 Rand. And if Renette's happy about this, you can actually have a look. We've built in the policies. So the maximum number of advances for the testing environment was 1. The maximum amount for the testing environment, and I mentioned the testing environment, is 1,000 Rand. And if we're happy with that, we approve it. And now it will go back to Renette, and she'll be, not Renette, it will go back to me. And just to say it's been approved, from there it goes to the expense auditor pool, and they'll then take it further. Okay, just to show you, this has been, status is now pending auditor approval. Okay, I just want to see if it's pulled through already. Not yet. Oh, sorry, here we go. So here's my item that I created via the app. My 300 Rand for, no, it wasn't 300 Rand, sorry. I'm just waiting for the app items to pull through, but it might take some time for it to sync via the system. Okay, just so that you can, Renette, may I show them in the expense auditor pool where we will reduce the amount?
Now, yes, you can. We have 15 minutes left, so just
Yes.
take that into account.
Yes.
But if you think you have time, you can quickly show it. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, I won't be able to do my own. So I'll be acting as Renette as the expense auditor. OCF does not allow you to approve your own items. So this is our expense auditing module. I'm going to go through this process fast because none of you will ever need to deal with this. This is just so that you can see where and how we do the adjustment to the amounts. Okay, just waiting for this to load. There's the 300 Rand that I've submitted earlier. As the expense auditor, I would go in, and there's a whole lot of options for us to use here. But the one thing we would do, and that's the most important thing for a lot of the questions that came up with how do we claim less than, how do we pay out less than the actual calculated amount? There's my 200 Rand. I've changed it. Complete audit. Done. And just so that I can show you for completeness, it should work. Submit. Okay. What happens now is I would receive a notification because the amount was reduced. There we go. OCF test, 200 Rand was actually paid. Expense report has been adjusted by the auditor. The original amount was 300 Rand. So if an amount is adjusted, it will be communicated even before the payment is made to the actual, to the staff member involved. Okay, and if we have this, here we go. Our status of this is now ready for payment. Okay, this was our, I think this was our, just want to check something. No, this was not that. Okay, the app items, I've shown the app, I've shown advances, I've shown as much information as I can. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. I want to hand back to Renette. As I mentioned, there's a lot more functionality within expenses, but this is the basics so that everybody can, when we get to the practical sessions, you'll understand that. And then when we go through the practical sessions, you'll become more comfortable with it. And then at the later stage, we can go through the more complicated and advanced sections in expenses. Thank you. Over to you, Renette.
Thank you very much, Naweed, and thanks for all the effort with the walkthrough. It is quite a big job. So, colleagues, this was what we call a list markertjie to give you an idea of the basic principles and what the module looks like. Once again, there will be face-to-face detailed training sessions, as Naweed mentioned, and Lizzie as well. So once again, please ensure that you do register. And I want to reiterate what Lizzie said, breathe. I know it's a lot of info, but we will get there and we will grow into the system. I am really very excited about this module and all the wins that we are getting from it. And I hope that you feel the same. We will get to all of your questions, so please just bear with us. And thank you so much for attending, and you must have a lovely long weekend. Thank you.